When missiles begin to fall, information does not just follow the conflict. It becomes part of it. Within hours of the latest Iranian strike involving Shahab-3 ballistic missiles, two completely different versions of events began spreading across social media at the same time. One described Tel Aviv as a city that had been devastated, entire districts destroyed, infrastructure collapsing across wide areas. The other insisted that the strikes had been largely neutralized, that defensive systems had performed effectively, and that daily life was continuing with minimal disruption. Both narratives moved rapidly, both were amplified at scale, and both failed to accurately describe what was happening on the ground. Because the reality is more complex than either version suggests. It is less extreme than the most alarming claims, and more serious than the most reassuring ones. Understanding that reality requires looking beyond individual clips and focusing instead on patterns, systems, and verifiable evidence. That is what this analysis is designed to do, not to present a single moment, but to explain the structure behind what is happening. In the next few minutes, we are going to examine what the Shahab-3 missile is and what it was designed to do, how the strike strategy being used operates across multiple systems simultaneously, how Israel's layered defense architecture functions under these conditions, where its limitations exist, what the observable impact in Tel Aviv actually looks like, and how to distinguish between verified information and content that is being amplified primarily because it generates engagement. To understand the role of the Shahab-3 in this situation, it is necessary to begin with its design. The Shahab-3 is a medium-range ballistic missile developed to deliver a substantial payload over long distances. Its range places Israel within reach from Iranian launch positions, which is why it has been central to discussions of regional military capability for years. It carries a large warhead, and while its guidance systems have improved over time, it is not a precision strike weapon in the same category as modern guided munitions designed for pinpoint targeting. It is a strategic bombardment system. That distinction is critical. A precision strike weapon is intended to hit a specific target with high accuracy. A strategic bombardment system is intended to deliver force into a general area, producing effects that extend outward from the point of impact. This difference defines the damage pattern. At the point of impact, destruction is severe. Structures closest to that point may experience total or near-total structural failure. Moving outward, the level of damage decreases. Buildings may sustain partial damage, broken windows, or facade impacts. Further still, structures may remain largely unaffected. What this produces is an uneven distribution of visible damage. One building may be destroyed while another nearby remains intact. One street may show clear signs of impact, while another appears unchanged. This is not inconsistency. It is the expected result of the weapon system being used. However, the Shahab-3 is not being used in isolation. The broader strike strategy involves multiple systems operating together, each contributing to a combined effect. Ballistic missiles provide long-range strike capability. Shorter-range systems increase volume and frequency. Unmanned aerial systems introduce additional complexity into the defensive environment. Each of these systems presents a different type of challenge. Ballistic missiles move at very high speeds and follow predictable trajectories. Drones operate at lower speeds, often at lower altitudes, and can be more difficult to track consistently. When these different threat types are introduced simultaneously, the defensive system must address multiple engagement problems at once. This creates operational pressure, not necessarily failure, but increased difficulty in maintaining consistent interception outcomes across all incoming threats. This is a designed effect of combined strike strategies. Understanding how defensive systems respond under these conditions is essential to interpreting what is happening. Israel's air defense operates as a layered system, with different components designed to address different types of threats. Short-range systems focus on rockets and similar projectiles. Other layers are designed to intercept longer-range ballistic threats at different stages of their trajectory. A key aspect of these systems is that they do not attempt to intercept every incoming projectile. Instead, they evaluate the predicted impact location. If a projectile is assessed as likely to land in an unpopulated area, interception may not be initiated. This is an efficiency decision. Interceptors are limited resources. Using them only when necessary allows the system to remain operational over extended periods. As a result, some projectiles are intercepted, some are not engaged because they are not assessed as a threat to populated areas, and some are engaged but not successfully intercepted. It is the third category that produces damage in populated areas. Understanding this distribution is essential. Damage does not indicate total system failure. It reflects the system operating within its designed parameters under complex conditions. The ground-level evidence in Tel Aviv reflects this reality. Available visual material and reporting show a consistent pattern. There are specific locations where impacts have resulted in significant structural damage. In some cases, buildings have experienced severe compromise or collapse. Surrounding these locations, there is evidence of moderate damage. windows shattered, external walls damaged, debris present. Beyond those areas, much of the city remains structurally intact. Infrastructure continues to function, though not without disruption. Emergency services are active. Public systems are operating under strain. This is not a picture of total destruction, but it is also not a situation of normal conditions. The difference between those two states is important because the impact of sustained strikes is not limited to visible damage. It affects behavior. Warning systems activate, movement is interrupted, people relocate to protected areas, activities are paused. This cycle repeats. Over time, repeated interruptions alter daily routines. Educational schedules are adjusted. Economic activity is reduced in sectors that depend on stability. Movement patterns change in response to uncertainty. Even in areas without visible damage, the effects are present. There is also a cumulative psychological component. The unpredictability of incoming threats, the repeated activation of warning systems, the uncertainty surrounding timing and location. These factors contribute to a sustained level of stress that is not easily captured in visual documentation, but is a real part of the situation. Targeting patterns also influence the distribution of impact. Tel Aviv, as a major economic and population center, represents a high-value target. This influences both the frequency and intensity of strikes directed toward it. Other areas may experience different levels of activity. This variation contributes to the diversity of visual evidence emerging from different locations, which in turn affects how the situation is perceived externally. The information environment plays a significant role in shaping that perception. Short clips and isolated images are often presented without broader context. A single instance of severe damage may be interpreted as representative of the entire city. A single instance of minimal impact may be interpreted as evidence that the situation is under control. Both interpretations are incomplete. Accurate understanding requires integrating multiple sources of information and recognizing the limitations of any single piece of content. This is where misinformation does not necessarily come from false content, but from incomplete context. What is shown may be real, what is implied may not be. Recognizing that distinction is essential for developing an accurate picture of events. The current situation in Tel Aviv reflects a city under sustained pressure. There's real damage concentrated in specific areas. There's real disruption affecting daily life. Defensive systems are functioning, but not without limitations. The overall condition is neither total collapse nor normal stability. It exists between those extremes, and that intermediate state is often the most difficult to communicate, because it lacks the simplicity of a single narrative. But it is also where the most accurate understanding can be found. The missiles are real, the damage is real, the disruption is real, and the city, despite all of it, continues to function. If you found this analysis useful, consider subscribing for more content focused on structured, evidence-based explanations. Share your perspective in the comments, and let me know what aspect you want explored next. Because understanding complex situations begins with moving beyond simplified narratives.